Welcome, my name is Gary Pressman, founder of this course. This first lecture is called Survival Techniques in a Wild World, and we're going to go into camouflage. So settle back and enjoy. Survival Techniques in a Wild World, Lecture 1, Camouflage. Right, let's take for example zebra. Stripes. Works on what is called the Harlequin principle. It breaks up the outline. Stance, often stand with head to rump, confuses predators who can only see in black and white. The reason for the stripes are unknown, but there are a few theories. One is, it helps to regulate the body temperature. Black attracts the heat, white reflects. The other is so that the insects are dazzled by it and don't land on the zebra as much as they do other animals. And the other theory, which is since to be proven to be fact, is that each one has its own colouring, its own pattern, so the foal can recognise the mother out of the whole herd. But this is what they call a dazzle pattern as well. So if you're a lion hunting at night or a pack of hyenas, all you will see there in the moonlight is a dazzle of black and white, and that really helps them to basically, it's a part of the camouflage that they use. Going on to lion, you find the lions are tawny coloured. They're tan coloured, exactly the same colour as the grass which they're hunting, being a plains animal. Lions are the only animal or only cat in the world that has evolved into a pride system. Now a pride is a group of animals, or as in this case lions, where they use teamwork to hunt together. They've evolved that because of the size of their prey is so big, from zebra to wildebeest to buffalo and sometimes even elephant in Botswana. So they rely on teamwork, and it's the only cat in the world that does that. The male has that beautiful big fur around his neck called a mane, and that's there to protect the throat when they have territorial fights, and also so the female can recognize him over a long distance. Coming up, we get, hold on a minute, we just go back, we get the great white shark. Funny enough, they work on what they call a counter shading principle. Blue on the top, white on the bottom. If you're looking above from below, you see the white belly, you can't see the shark. If you're looking down from above, you see the blue colour against the blue of the sea. Very effective in hunting seals, but it's only effective mainly about an hour and a half before and after sunset. Going down, we get the leopard. Now the leopard is a very popular animal, very beautiful animal, very nocturnal, hunts at night mainly. If you can look carefully, you'll see it's got rosettes, not spots. Rosettes help to break up the outline. Splash pattern, it actually makes it blend into the thick bush in which it hunts. Take a look under the eye, you'll see a white stripe. That is there to reflect light into the eyeball, so they can see better at night. Coming down, we get the cheetah. A daytime hunter, hunts during the day. Very small head, cuts down on wind resistance. Very long legs to attain those speeds. Also, its claws are fixed, like an athlete's spikes, like a dog. It can't retract its claws like any other cat. That's to help it attain the speed that it gets to, up to 65 miles an hour. Very large lungs, very large lung capacity. Very elastic spine, so it flicks forward almost like a bow to propel the animal forward. Hunts during the day because it needs to have very good vision. Can't hunt at night because at those speeds it can't hit anything like a tree stump or anything along the way because it would hurt itself. Coming down to the tiger. Now a tiger hunts in the jungle. If you take a look at a jungle, you'll find shafts of sunlight going in between the leaves. Then you look at a tiger who's got stripes on its back. and that stripe is there to get to blend in against the shafts of sunlight coming through the jungle. That's why you don't find them in Africa, because being mainly a plains country, it would stand out too much like a sore thumb against the plains. So they're specialised to hunt in the jungle, where a lion hunts is a tawny colour, hunts on the plains. A tiger, being a big cat, hunts in the jungle, so it's got the stripes to mimic the sunlight going through the leaves like that. Coming to this is now an impala ewe with a little red-billed oxpecker on its ear, taking ticks out. Take a look carefully, you see what they call the counter shading. She's basically cut in half. The top half brown, the middle half tan, and the bottom half white. This makes the animal appear flatter than it really is. It chops the animal in half, the upper half being darker, neutralised by sunlight, and the bottom half, being lighter, is neutralised by shade. It's very difficult for it to see. And we get the zebra once again. It's very much of a dazzle pattern. Those stripes, once again, we're not too sure what exactly they're there for, but we know for a fact that, first of all, each one's got its own individual markings, and secondly, they are definitely used for survival camouflage. Coming down, once again, we get the Cape hunting dog, which works on a splash principle, which is blobs and splashes. It's explosive and it is confusing. Often found amongst fish and among frogs as well. And once again, it's very explosive. The animal trying to pounce on it can't work out with all these blobs and dashes and clouds where it's actually going to, so it gets confused. Now take a look at that giraffe in the distance. If you look carefully, you'll see the main bulk of his body is directly in line with the shrubbery either side of him. His neck is in line with the trunk of the tree, as is his legs. So if he stands behind that shrub, you will not see him. I've personally walked past giraffe many times on safari, and I've walked right past him because all you can see is the shrubbery. And take a look at his coat, you see it's a mottled colour as well, what they call the splash principle. It's a form of a camouflage, very interesting as well. They've got only 7 vertebrae in their neck. They give birth standing up, and the weight of the baby falling to the ground breaks the umbilical cord. Also, the baby must be able to run, because vultures will come down to eat the afterbirth, and lions like to follow vultures, especially during the day. Coming to an elephant. Now, you might think to yourself, elephant weighs up to 4 tons, how can you hide itself? It can very easily, because it's a very uniformly grey colour. And in the Congo, or in places where there's thick bush, where we used to operate, an elephant used to blend into the background if he wants to not to be found. They flap their ears, and that acts as a giant radiator, because all your major blood vessels bypass the ears, going through the ears, and that helps to cool the blood down. If he doesn't want to be found, he will stand stock still without making a sound, and those ears will stop flapping, and you will guarantee you, if he does not want to be found, he won't be. Very, very effective camouflage, just a uniform grey colour. Same thing with the rhinoceros as well. Very heavily poached, under big threat in Africa due to poaching and other stuff, loss of habitat, farming. So once again, if they don't want to be found, they will just blend into the background. Very impossible and very hard to actually get to see them. Once again, we get to the zebra once again. Take a look at that picture there. They stand head to tail, head to rump. And all you see there, if you can only see in black and white, and you're hunting at night, and you see that, especially if there's a big herd, you won't see in an individual zebra. You will just see a big, hugely uniform splash of white and black and white and black. And all you can do is make a blind charge. Hopefully, you might be able to isolate one, maybe a foal, and bring it down. Bearing in mind that they're very protective and they have a very vicious kick. So that works in their favour. But they often stand rump to back, rump to head, rump to head. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but that is a zebra crossing, because they were crossing the road when I took the picture. Right, coming up to an owl. Owls found around the world. We know for a fact they hunt at night. We can't hear them because their feathers are specially designed to cut down on the wind's swish. Also, a funny thing is that their ears are not on top of their head. It's on either side of their face. And they're skew. One ear is higher than the other. So that is there. So when the sound wave comes in, it hits the one ear slightly before or after the other one. So the owl can zoom in on exactly where the noise comes from. Also, they camouflage themselves by really nestling up close against the bark of the tree. And they blend in so perfectly you will not be able to see them very well. Same thing with the kingfisher. Hunts by eating fish. Certain birds like to hunt other birds. And seen from above, with the blue of the water, very hard to see a kingfisher. Also, if you're a fish, you're looking up. All you will see is that yellow breast of the kingfisher and against the sun, and you will not see the bird. Right, going on to insects. We have in Africa a thing called a songololo, or it's actually called just a millipede. Now, a millipede has got over 650 legs. Okay. And basically, if they feel threatened, they will curl themselves into a ball, as you can see there, into a curved shape. Now, from the air, that looks like dung, looks like a dropping. And the bird will avoid that, because the bird will not eat dung. So it changes its shape to basically stop being predated. Now, with a stick insect, he doesn't have to change his shape. He looks just like a stick, just like a twig. And that is his first offense, hence the name stick insect. Now the prey mantis looks just like a leaf with a green colour, and if it feels threatened, it will freeze and it will be totally immobile, and often an insect or a frog would actually walk right past it without seeing it. Coming down, we get a moth that looks just like a wasp. It gets to copy a wasp. Now, wasps, as we know, sting and are not edible. So for the best defense you could have, the best chance you've got without being of not being eaten, is to look like something that is dangerous. So a moth that looks like a wasp. Perfect camouflage. Next we come to the blister beetle. Now, in the insect kingdom, there's a big advertisement that says the more brighter my colours are, the more toxic my body juices or my venom is. And if you take a blister beetle, which I've tried it in Africa, you squash it accidentally or whatever, it can actually blister your skin. It's that potent, the actual the venom or the body juices inside it. You get the same thing with reptiles as well. I mean, for the agamas that live in the desert, they have a uniform brown type of desert colour. We all know how chameleons can change their colour as well. And you find your iguanas in the jungle. Guess what? They're green. So they look just like the jungle. Okay, just to recap quickly. Hold on, just bear with me for a sec. Just get that back up. Just bear with me for a sec. Thank you. Okay, so to recap. Counter shading. Makes animals appear flatter. Chops the animal in half. Upper sunlight, lower shade. Example, great white shark, antelope. Harlequin principle. Dazzles, example, zebra. Partly coloured principle. Striped, banding, example, tigers, frogs, certain fish. Splash principle. Bobs and splashes, explosive and confusing. Cape hunting dog, birds do it a lot as well. Okay, we're now going to come to a section that is basically called relevance to ourselves. How we have basically copied this and used it for ourselves to basically survive, so to speak. Right, the first thing that comes to mind, unfortunately, is war. Because war, in generally, is basically almost an endemic part of human life. Now, history is filled with silent cemeteries, war memorials, remembrance parades. It's been a fact of life since we've almost been on this planet. But what fascinates us is how we've used warfare to survive, or use camouflage in warfare, and use a natural world in warfare to survive. Take the tank, for example. The tank is modelled on the tortoise. When you basically take a tortoise, it's got a thick armour on the outside, and it can escape within. The tank's also modelled on certain crustacean shells found in the deep ocean, where they have a harpoon that comes out the top of the shell and harpoons anything unfortunate enough to come even close. Coming back to ourselves, you take, for example, a soldier. Using the counter-shading principle, we can effectively break up a soldier's image. Using black camouflage on exposed skin with green or mottled splashes, the splash principle. Learning not to silhouette yourself against a horizon. Sunlight and grass helps you blend in and appear flatter. The human eye naturally traverses from left to right whilst on foot, where in the military, the individual is trained to traverse the opposite. This unnatural movement trains the eye better to pick out a slightly unnatural shape. I mean, I was taught to scan from left to right, as opposed to right to left. This trains the eye better to pick out a slightly unnatural shape against a uniform, mottled background. For example, you can pick out a tripwire, you can pick out a track, or if you're lucky, even an ambush. Snipers are legendary for using grass, leaves and twigs to effectively disappear. A trick we have copied from insects such as the stick insect, which I've shown you, the praying mantis, and butterflies such as the comma, which I'm going to show you now. Now the comma butterfly, just adjust his mic, sorry. Now the comma butterfly, as you can see, his wings resemble a torn leaf. He's got torn edges to his wings. Also, it's got that white crescent, as you can see. Now, that white crescent looks just like a tear in the leaf, and with the sunlight coming through. Very, very, very interesting form of camouflage. It actually gets to almost makes an artificial event like a tear in a leaf, which happens in the natural world, and on the wings makes it look artificial. It's really hard to explain, but it really shows how they can get to copy something so well, and they just blend into the background as they do. Right, in Vietnam, during the war, they utilized a tiger stripe to break up their outline, with the shafts going through the jungle. The camouflage in the desert by soldiers uses the same principle, but with the sandy mottled splashes, using the human eye's penchant, because they're always penchant to juggle between light and shade in a totally uniform and featureless background. So the mottled splashes help to blend in completely like that. The white clothing used by desert Arabs to reflect sunlight is well known, as is the black garments used by medieval Japanese ninja fighters to blend into darkness. During the Mau Mau emergency in Kenya, brown boot polish was rubbed into the eyes to make them yellow. Brown contact lenses were worn, making the eyeballs brown. Now, this is by white people. Shaved hair, black camouflage, and almost total nocturnal activities made a white man black, so they could stalk and track the Mau Mau terrorists. The illusion made even more complete around the glow of a campfire. Now, leaving the military for more peaceful pursuits, we have an article of clothing that is called a onesie. This is a full body suit, often incorporating animal patterns, that is frowned upon in many game reserves due to the similarity with prey animals, a fact not unnoticed by large carnivores. Tiger stripes, zebra patterns and leopard spots are all design features, evolved as tools by animals themselves to enhance a species' survival strategy. Humans walking around with the same features and the same kind of clothing, the same kind of features, as I said, can and only end in confusion. The few times I've had people on my safari with a leopard skin top or a jacket, or a zebra skin jacket, and when we got close to lions, normally the females would get very interested in this human. I'd ask them to remove the jacket and straight away the interest would stop. I mean, can you imagine doing a walk with a onesie on? Walking around looking just like a giraffe. No, sorry, just like a zebra. I mean, the mind boggles what could happen. I'm often struck with the similarity between workers going to work in the towns and cities of the world. The uniformly grey, worn by the multitude of the workers on their way to the high-rise buildings, and the uniform neutral colour utilised by worker and soldier termites toiling away in the vast termitariums or termite mounds. Now, I'm not going to draw. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say compare the two, but there is a similarity. Now, termites, the soldier termite, are equipped with fearsome chemical or contact weapons. They are aroused by the pheromones, which are secreted by other soldiers when they come under attack, for example, by an ant bear, aardvark, etc. That same pheromone has no effect on the workers, by the way. And they will rush to defend the termitarium to the death. The high mortality rate being enhanced by the vast numbers crowding in to repel the attack. The funny thing is, if there's a deficit of soldiers after a sustained attack, the larvae, which are hatched by the workers, the larvae are formless and sexless. They will then manufacture the larvae, or they will do something to the larvae to make more soldiers, a form of genetic engineering, which is quite fantastic when you think about it. We humans we've been studying that, but it's an ethical thing there, so I don't think we should be messing with that anyway, but there it is. That's a termitarium mound. It's their castle. It's what they are sworn to defend. The workers build it, and the soldiers defend it, and the queen sits right in the middle, deep underground. But we'll get into termites later because they are a very, very fascinating subject indeed. Very much like our high-rise buildings. They build towers, we build towers. Right, now we come to a thing called FAM. It's called fear, aggression, and mating. Fear, aggression, and mating. Normally utilised by the male. In the natural world, it is usually the male of the species that is resplendent in vibrant colours and is the owner of elaborate courtship displays to try and attract a mate. He falls under what is called the FAM complex, which once again stands for fear, aggression, and mating. 3 conflicting moods with the dancers and displays are designed to alleviate fear, boost confidence, and get to produce arousal in the female. Stereotype through evolution to avoid confusion. Also called a species flag, with a diversity of calls, displays, and colours endemic to each species. Displays go on for long periods of time, which, with a close proximity, produces arousal, synchronicity, and finally mating. Now, in humans, the roles are normally reversed, with the female taking great care of herself and being the one with as I said, to be the one as the attractant, as opposed to the animals, which the male attracts the female. Here it's quite often the other way around. Not all the time, often. Dancing has evolved in humans in 2 directions. One is the art of motion in the shape of the human body, as in ballet or contemporary dance. The other is the attraction and proximity dancing normally found in nightclubs and discos. Nightclubs and discos with aroused partners often copying each other with the same movements, conflicting moods, and the same coping strategies exhibited by the natural world. Remember, fear, aggression, mating. One obvious difference being the prevalence of drugs and alcohol in the human experience. Also, you find the same thing with tribes as well. Now, in a tribe, In Africa, New Guinea, etc., they use animal products, such as skins and feathers, to enhance status and rank inside the tribe. Tattoos, animal horns, and teeth are often either worn or supplemented in the body to make a warrior look more fierce and intimidating to his enemy and more attractive to his women. The same thing you find in African masks as well, when they wear masks to look more intimidating. Echoed more or less in the West, do we get a big, like a prevalence of tattoos and implants. Now we have implants as a big thing now in the West, but they've been implanting the Aboriginals and the tribes in South America and Africa for thousands of years, and it seems to be now in the West a new fashion thing that is going on. I think we're starting to echo our indigenous cousins a lot. Right, conclusion of this. Okay, from the destructive force to the military, from the destructive force to the military, which is actually capable of destroying a planet, to ourselves, we get to echo and get to mirror the natural world in many ways. I mean, we are closer, we are very close to this natural world that I always go on about. But in camouflage and in warfare, we see it a lot. In nightclubs and discos, the FAM, fear, aggression, mating. And we're going to delve deeper into this as we go on with this course. We're going to go deeper into the animal, the termites, animals, and we're going to go deeper. Then we're going to inner migrate to ourselves. But first, we get the knowledge of what is happening in nature, how we get to copy it and learn from it. I want to thank you for this first course. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the second lecture. Thank you.